the actual winemaking brings so much joy and fulfillment into my life. And I want to share that with you guys. So that's the story of how I got into making wine. Number one, how did I get into wine? And then number two, because there's sort of a side one to that, how did I get into wine making? And the short answer is I failed at everything else I did in life. I went to college for a metalsmithing degree. I dropped out. I tried to go back to college for an entrepreneurial degree. I dropped out. I tried to go to college for a writing degree. I dropped out. One of those times when I dropped out of college, I found myself moving back in with my mom. And she was like, get a job. And I was like, no, I'm too artsy. I can't do that. She's like, I don't care, get a job. And so I ended up getting a job at a liquor store, to which she said, not that job, you're going to get robbed and killed. That's so too bad. That's the one that hired me. And at the time I was like 23, 24, something like that. I wasn't a big drinker. I wasn't a big partier. I really didn't know anything about alcohol. Growing up in Texas, they don't really tell you about alcohol. You turn 21 and you're like let loose into the world. At least that was my experience with it. Up until that point, the only drinking I had ever really done was I would share a bottle of wine with my mom. And it was dry reds, typically a Merlot. And so for me, it was like I got thrown into the deep end at wine very early on. There was no this baby stepping with Rieslings and sweet Moscatos and stuff. It was like, if you want to drink with me, we're drinking dry Merlot. And so I had to learn to appreciate it pretty early on. But when I got into the liquor store world, suddenly I was like, oh, there's so much more here. I found myself talking to reps constantly and just eating it up, like all of it, not just wine. I found it super fascinating that there was this world that existed in the craft and the nuance and everything that went into making all of these things. It blew my mind, honestly. And in particular, wine. Because a whiskey is a whiskey is a whiskey is a whiskey. And I don't mean that as they all taste the same. They do not. But I'm saying, like, you buy a bottle of, Buffalo Trace or something like that today, and then you buy another one 2 years from now, they pretty much taste the same. Whereas wine can vary so widely from year to year, vintage to vintage, maker to maker, region, all that. And that to me had this incredible artistic quality about it that I craved. Like I mentioned earlier, I went to school for metalsmithing. That's an art degree, it's a fine art degree. I was manipulating metal and turning it into jewelry and things like that. So the artistic part of this really appealed to me. And the more I learned about it, the more I was like, I could do this for the rest of my life. I feel really confident that I can learn this and I can do something with it. So from the liquor store, I decided I really want to work at a tasting room. And going, but I'm in Texas. There are so few options available, especially where I am in Texas, which is the DFW area, Dallas-Fort Worth. I was specifically, and still, in Fort Worth. And there just aren't very many opportunities for tasting rooms. So I think I wrote a handwritten letter to the 5 tasting rooms that existed at that time in Fort Worth that were within driving distance of where I was living. And I got picked up by Lost Oak Winery. And at first it was just a part-time job, wine club coordinator. From there, I ended up doing just about every single job there. But what I really wanted to do is I wanted to make that wine. I wanted to get my hands dirty. I wanted to learn all the chemistry. I wanted to find out what made a wine a wine. And not only that, but what made a good wine a wine. And I was so eager. And for 5 years, I kind of got pushed to the side. No, you're doing a great job doing wine club coordinator. We need you to keep doing that. Oh no, now you're running the tasting room. Well, we just can't lose you doing that. And so I would clock out of my, regular 8-hour day. And then I would go to the back of the production barn and work with Jim Evans, not getting paid. I just wanted to learn it. And I would go back there and I would help him until we were done. Which I'm sure they loved the free labor out of me, but that's what we do. But that eventually that passion and that drive and that want to do it did eventually move me over into the production side of things. So from there, I actually became the assistant to Jim Evans. And then at some point, Jim stepped back a little bit and he gave me a little bit more leeway. And he said, you know what, you're the winemaker now. You're going to make some decisions. We're going to do some stuff. He gave me a few wines that were basically mine to do. I produced Blanc de Sharkey, which was a field blend that we made in 2020. That was my first like wine that was mine. I had a huge role in the Reserve Roussanne, which has now won a gold medal from different competitions. Every year we have produced it. The most recent one just got a best in class. We're super excited about that. It's been a wild ride, and I've loved every minute of it. Making wine is really opened my eyes up to this craft that is unlike anything else you can experience in the world. The closest next best thing, I guess, would be, there is nothing. All these other artists are like, but what about, yeah, your craft is great too. No, I'm kidding. It's so much fun and it's so rewarding. The actual winemaking brings so much joy and fulfillment into my life. And I want to share that with you guys. So that's the story of how I got into making wine. And again, come join me. I don't know what I'm doing yet, but we're figuring out one glass of wine at a time. Did I miss anything?
It's fantastic.
Cheers. Pew, pew, pew. Like, subscribe, link, email, questions, Vogue.